Okay, I had a bit of a graphics card hiccup there. It happens. I think I was able to do it quick enough that the stream didn't end, though. I think. I don't know. It's gonna take a sec. Anyways, we're doing more Great Ace Attorney. Welcome back, guys. Where, what do I call it? Okay, now Twitch is just bugging out on my phone because it thinks the broadcast ended. That's funny. Anyways, in the last episode, we beat the trial, the first trial, which was a pretty wild one, honestly, because we found out that Mr. Vigil was actually undercover this whole time, and he was also like a double, like a body double for what's his name, Gregson. So that was kind of a mind freak and a half. So anyways, we're going to continue. We're doing a nice early stream. I mean, as early as I can. I mean, it's 9 a.m., which isn't really that early. But I did get up at 7 instead of 6 this morning. I just find it really funny. I'm waking up so early now. I think that's a great change, honestly. I still can't quite believe what just happened. I know. I inquired with the bailiff about the court session was adjourned. Or after the court session. And it seems Mr. Vigil was taken to the hospital to recover. Oh, now it's this song again. What is this song? I don't know. 10 years ago now, Mr. Vigil attempted to commit suicide by jumping out of the window of the prison governor's office. But ever since then, he's completely blocked the memory of those events from his mind. Nobody knew his secret, not his family, not even the man himself. But I forced it out into the open. Was it wrong of me to do that? Did I overstep the mark, I wonder? Here, let me bring my mic a little closer. Well now. Oh, Iris. You were miles away. Anyway, I've brewed a fresh pot of soothing tea for you. Oh, thank you. She's starting to sound like Hurley now. You and Susie have had an exhausting day so far, haven't you? Oh. Thank you, Iris. How thoughtful of you. Yeah, you guys aren't the only one with tea here. I have my Earl Grey this morning as well. Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is? When we came out of the courtroom back into the defendant's antechamber, he disappeared. Oh, no, I don't know. He just suddenly sprang to his feet and left. All he said was, I must leave. I wonder if he's pursuing the mystery of the Inspector Gregson's death. Well, you know what Haley's always saying, don't you? There are many mysteries in this world that should perhaps never be solved. For the construction of a solution only comes at the expense of destruction of something else. What does that mean? He knows very well that when you open someone else's old wounds, you often open your own too. But he just can't take his own advice and leave it alone. Solving mysteries is too important to him. That's so true. But that's what I like about Haley, after all. I suppose that's the lot of great detective in some ways. So then, let's have tea, and then I'll give you a hand. Oh, do you have time, Iris? Yes, I finished this month's manuscript at last, with barely a day to spare before the deadline. Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. A brand new story to read in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. You know, I always had Hurley's violin in the days before I have a deadline. You do? Poor Mr. Sholmes. I'm sure that's very wise, Iris. How sensible of you. Now then, my dear fellows, let's make a plan of action before we continue our investigation. Yeah, he really is starting to sound like Mr. Sholmes, because she's saying, like, my dear fellows and stuff now. Alright, well, what do you have to say about my armband? Iris, have you seen this? Your armband? The symbol of a defense law in Japan? You know, you've shown that to me dozens of times. Oh, have I? Thing is, I just feel wrong if I don't have it on my arm, you know?
Well, if you ask me, I think you should try wearing something different every now and then.
Oh really? Like what?
Well, I could make something for you if you like. How about a band that squeezes your arm when the person you're talking to tells a lie?
Oh wow, that's a great reference. I'll keep a space free on my left arm then. Wow, wasn't expecting an Apollo Justice reference, but the more you know.
I thought it was strange, you know? When Haley suddenly decided to turn his hair red like that, I mean.
You mean he didn't tell you why? He didn't mention the Redhead League to you?
I bet it's because he wanted to keep that 4 pounds a week all for himself.
Oh yes, I see. Cause your hair has a red hue too, you mean, right?
Anyway, at least I have a good starting point for next month's installment now.
I mean, her hair is more pink than red, really. Iris must be the only person who's actually going to manage to benefit from this whole sorry affair. Iris, have a look at this.
That's not right. I thought you were supposed to say objection.
Oh, here we go again.
Objection!
Well, I'm glad that's still there. It's weird that it's not letting me skip, because that's the same thing from the last case. Well, what could I... What you know, I could present the hairpiece to her.
Oh, this looks like it's made from real human hair.
I thought it might be.
Yes, people would pay money for long hair that's in good condition. Haley once offered his hair for sale, you know. He grew it right down to his shoulders.
Really? How much did he make?
No one would buy it.
Oh.
He was told it was unruly, apparently.
Oh. Maybe I'd better give up on the idea as well, then. Wow, you're gonna sell your hair? Gregson's photograph? Aw, dang. Howdy face.
Objection!
I'm not gonna sit here and do literally every single thing. Okay, what about the photograph of the victim? That's important, right? No? No, that's not important? Oh, never mind, I got a reaction out of her. A very sad reaction. Oh no, what was I thinking? Why on earth did I show her that?
Poor Gregsy.
Aw. What about, his identification? Oh, okay, so anything related with Gregson gets that reaction. What about the nose board? Oh. Howdy face again. Actually, I got an idea. What if I show... Did I show her the photograph already? No, okay.
Objection!
I thought she would know something about Van Zeeks. Because I always see fan art of those two together, so I thought, like, maybe that'd be related to something. Okay. Hey, Iris, what do you think about a fucking gun? Pouty face.
Objection!
You know, apparently Iris has an objection and a hold it, but I don't know if they're ever used in the game, because so far there's been a lot of unused voice clips in this game, which I find kind of interesting. Anyways, let's converse. Yeah, so for a good example is William Shamspeare. He has a hold it, and I think maybe an objection. Definitely a hold it, but I don't know about objection. But he has an unused one, and I think a few other characters have one too. Like, it's kind of weird. And like even some characters that don't have voice lines have an unused like objection or hold it, which is kind of weird. You think they'd get used, but no. Game's kind of weird that way. Also, apparently all of the jurors have an unused not guilty voice clip too. They all say guilty, but I don't think they ever say not guilty. At least, not all of them do. Because I don't remember any of the jurors saying not guilty. But it's really funny to hear, because, like, you know, all of the jurors from, like, the last case, for example, you have that fucking Waluigi-looking guy, where he's just like, not guilty.
It's really funny sounding. If you guys haven't heard it, I recommend giving those voice clips a listen, because there's a lot of unused ones in this game. It's kind of wild.
So, how did it go in court this morning?
Well, we still don't know the truth about what really happened, but one thing's increasingly clear. Lord Van Zieks definitely didn't do it.
Oh, goody.
Yes, that's right. We managed to uncover several new facts as well.
Oh, really?
Also, another thing I feel like I'd point out is, I have actually heard what the characters sound like. Like, I listened to Iris's voice, and it's a lot more like... It doesn't sound all squeaky like I do it. It's more like oh my, or whatever. You know, that's kind of what she sounds like, but I can't really do a voice like that. So, I'm probably just gonna stick with my funny squeaky voice. Alright, I just had to charge my phone. I want to make sure my phone's full charge when I go for my walk later today. I don't know, today's gonna be a weird day depending on when the fuck Luke wants to do hard mode, because I don't know when he's gonna want to do that shite. And there was another development too, Kazuma.
Yes, it's quite clear now that Kazuma-sama is not himself. The way he's acting, it's almost as if he's possessed.
I know. I mean, at the end of the proceedings earlier, he was like a bloodhound the way he was chasing down Mr. Vigil's forgotten past. He's not normally so mercilessly persistent. I kind of like it, though. I think it's kind of cool. But I get it. What's going on in his head, I wonder? I really need to sit down with Kazuma and try to understand what he's going through. Yeah, because we haven't really gotten a chance to just sit and talk with Kazuma one-on-one. Every other time, it's either been in court or with somebody around. If Gregson was really murdered the day before his body was discovered, then Lord Van Zieks has to be innocent, you see.
What? The day before? Well, that should be easy enough to work out just by examining the corpse, surely.
Yes, you'd expect so, but curiously, no time of death was included in the autopsy report.
That's curious.
There are still unanswered questions at Lord Van Zieks, though, aren't there?
Ah, do you mean...
I mean, what was he doing there on Fresno Street that day in the first place?
Well, according to the man's testimony, he said he was investigating Inspector Gregson, didn't he?
And it turns out that little room was actually the Inspector's secret office.
Oh, that sounds like it has all the makings of a wonderfully devilish plot.
But then why was that notice board in there covering all these particular papers? Papers about cases with a link to the Reaper. I'm starting to get a bad feeling about all this.
Oh dear, that sounds more like something horribly devilish.
We must start by looking into Inspector Gregson's movements of late.
Oh, here we go with the movements again. Gregson's movements. I don't know, I always freaking laugh when I see movements in these games. Maybe it's just because of all the Let's Plays I watch with people joking about that. But, I just find it funny. I never imagined I might have to be investigating Inspector's movements.
Well, according to the entry in his diary, he was carrying out an incognito investigation of the Redhead League day before his death.
Well, isn't that what we already knew that, though, right?
Oh, you mean he was doing the same as Haley?
Well, Mr. Sholmes was trying to apply, whereas the Inspector was supposed to be investigating. Oh wait, no, we're talking about the fake Gregson, I think.
I do wish it had been the other way around.
Wait, no, because Gregson gave Vigil his notebook, so never mind. I kind of forgot about that. Anyways, as it turns out, the Inspector who went to investigate the Redhead League that day wasn't actually Gregson at all. It was Mr. Vigil in possession of Gregson's identification. Oh.
You know what it sounds like to me? Establishing an alibi.
Oh my. Yes, you're absolutely right, Iris.
But why would Gregson need an alibi? Well, because it wasn't him that was there.
It would appear that the inspector had something to do that he wished to keep secret.
I don't believe it. I always thought that he was just a harmless lover of fish and chips.
But perhaps they were seasoned with something a little more potent than salt and vinegar.
I think perhaps we should try to move away from food analogies.
Well, anyway, if Lord Van Zieks felt the need to investigate Gregson, maybe Van Zieks was suspicious of Mr. Vigil. I don't know. Who knows?
Yes, I agree. We must try to find out what he knows.
Well, any more opportunities to talk to Van Zieks is a good one in my book.
Vigil, you say? Isn't that the name of the lady who came to visit Haley yesterday?
That's right. To ask Mr. Sholmes if he would help her to find a missing husband.
Only Mr. Sholmes completely passed the buck to us.
Actually, didn't you say that Mr. Vigil had been taken to the hospital? Do you know which one?
Is it gonna be fucking, St. Bartholomew's again? Oh.
Ah, it's St. Sinas.
I'm starting to wonder if all the other hospitals in London have closed down.
That's amazing, Reno. You found the lady's husband already.
Well, I suppose I have, by accident. Yeah, it's funny, we already did a case within a case, it's crazy.
And 10 years ago, while Mr. Vigil was the chief warder at the prison, he was responsible for overseeing the professor's incarceration.
No.
So when the convict escaped, he was held responsible and immediately dismissed.
Sometimes I really don't want to grow up.
There's more. For 10 years after that, while he was ostensibly working as a peddler, he also had another secret job. He was paid by Gregson to be his stand-in, to impersonate the inspector.
To impersonate Gregsy? But why?
I have absolutely no idea.
Dee was right. I'm sorry to think all adults are up to no good now. Including you, Runo.
I haven't paid anyone to impersonate me.
That means he has ties to the professor and to Inspector Gregson, though. So, I do think we ought to pay a visit to Mr. Vigil, don't you?
Wow, we're gonna pay everybody a visit.
Well, I think it's clear what we need to do, isn't it? Let us investigate, my dear fellows.
Oh, Iris! You're even more enthusiastic than usual today.
If anyone has anything to hide, my special Wilson shooting iron will set them straight.
That water pistol? I thought it was a gas pistol.
It's stuffed full of piping hot extra special blend of mine.
Then I'm quite sure it'll be very effective.
Yeah, maybe against water types? Or fire types, I mean. I better be careful not to hide anything. Well, it feels a little strange that Mr. Sholmes is nowhere to be seen, but still. Iris Watson uses Scald, basically. Let's go and see what we can find out.
Yes.
Yes. I need that fucking voice clip of Rienosi saying yes. Because he has two different yes voice clips, and I think one of them's unused, which is really funny. Oh, we can't go to the Waterloo Hotel or the governor's office. Mr. Vigil's hospital bed. Okay, let's go to the prison first, because I think I'd rather see Van Zieks first, and, you know, get the deets on Zieks, as Nintendo Capri Sun once said. Oh, that's so weird, seeing them stand, like, at a diagonal angle like that.
Lord Van Zieks is reading, look.
He's reading every time we come here.
He doesn't seem like he wants visitors, does he?
But he must have noticed that we're here, surely. What do you nipple knees want? That's no way to greet the lawyers trying to as hard as to prove your innocence, is it? Perhaps not. I apologize. So, what can I do for you, Mr. Narholdo?
Lord Van Zieks, speaking earnestly.
Oh, the fog will lift over London for the first time in months now.
Tomorrow.
This does feel very, very strange. Yeah, it is always strange when, like, somebody who detests you old games suddenly starts respecting you. I mean, the same thing happens with Gato in Trials and Tribulations, so it's not out of the ordinary. It's just really nice when you see it. I must say, I was impressed. Oh, well, thank you. Not by you, by your fellow Nipponese, your prosecutor friend. Oh, I see, yes. It's sardonic, don't you think? For a man such as me, so loathing of the Nipponese, to be entirely at the mercy of you two. I suppose it's retribution for having played the part of the Reaper all these years. Played the part? Well, what do you have to say about Gregson? Oh, dang it. It's not letting me skip this? Bruh. I thought you had something to say about Gregson's dead body, you know? I mean, I could just present... Oh, what about the notice board? Oh, okay. I'm gonna assume he doesn't have anything to say unless I need to present something to him. Okay, well, I showed him the photograph already, so we did, anywhere from here to here. What about his identification? Okay. Maybe I'll try presenting shit later if I need to. You once told me that you gladly allowed people to believe you were the Reaper, because it helped reduce the amount of serious crime that took place in London. If keeping quiet and playing the part benefits the cause, a cause I myself am committed to pursuing, then why would I choose to say anything? But the henchman of a criminal killed by the Reaper attacked you only the other day. And that was just the most recent of many attempts on your life, wasn't it? Someone's clearly profiting from your silence about all this. Someone's using you. Believe me, ever since the Reaper first appeared, I've been doing my utmost to expose him. Or rather, expose the organization.
Ah, it's a whole organization?
It's inconceivable that all those accidents were orchestrated by one man. No, the Reaper always appears to have very accurate information about the accused in each case. Which can only mean that somebody at Scotland Yard is involved.
Someone at... You can't mean...
It's taken me many years, but I finally identified the central figure in this Reaper organization. Tobias Gregson.
No!
Gregson the Reaper? I mean, I don't want to admit it, but that seems actually pretty plausible because of the fact that he has all those cases related to him. Okay, I'm gonna make a save real quick. That way I can take a sip of my tea.
So the reason you invested in Inspector Gregson's because you intended to expose him as the Reaper?
As I said, the Reaper of the Bailey is no single person. It's a highly secret organization with close ties to Scotland Yard. But there's no doubt that Gregson was a key member of that organization.
I don't believe it.
Are you saying that Gregsy, he was behind all those awful criminals meeting there?
Gregson didn't do the dirty work himself.
Oh.
He was the tactician. His job was to covertly investigate the marks and plot their assassinations. In order to do that without arousing suspicion, he regularly needs a firm alibi.
Oh. So Mr. Vigil was his stand-in whenever he was off, like, plotting assassinations? Damn, if that's true, that's fucking crazy. And that's also why he likes to work alone. Oh my god, that makes so much sense. Which is where Mr. Vigil came in, posing as the inspector.
Vigil knows nothing of the Reaper. But the room he rents on Fresno Street was almost certainly the headquarters of the operation. Gregson would have met the assassins there for briefings.
So we don't actually know who carried out the killings then?
I wonder if that's what we're gonna find out. This case or next case? Actually, I do have a name.
You what? Well, if you can name the man, you can have the true identity of the Reaper already then.
Or if I can name the woman.
Oh.
She's a young woman by the name of Assassin. Oh.
Wait, what? Shin? Sheen? Miss Assassin, the true name of a terrifying killer I know only too well. Damn, I can't believe Sheen from Jimmy Neutron is the true mastermind. She came to Japan posing as a visiting student and murdered Dr. John H. Watson. Then, just when it seemed that diplomatic protection would help her escape Japan in conviction, the mysterious woman was herself murdered in a small summer beach hut. And that woman was actually the Reaper of the Bailey? Mr. Naruhodo, this perhaps isn't the place to discuss. No, of course not. We can't mention it here. The fact that she killed Dr. John H. Watson, because Iris doesn't know it, and it's very likely that the man was her father. Assassin, I should let father know at once. Yes, I agree. Look at Iris just smiling over there, all like, what's the word? All blissfully.
Kazuma, isn't it? Kazuma Soki. You say he's a friend of yours.
My best friend. He's the whole reason I got to come to Britain. It was all on his merits. I have nothing but respect for him.
Yes, I understand that the only very best students are selected for such opportunities. And I had a fine demonstration of how sharp he is in the proceedings earlier today. He missed nothing. In fact, his flawless performance very much reminded me of his father.
Genshin Asogi, Professor.
It's true that the aristocracy at the time was the root of numerous grave societal problems. They were abusing their power, playing with the common man as pawns in politics, in economics, in war. In many ways, Asogi was carving out a canker from society that we British couldn't deal with ourselves.
Ah, I see.
But that's precisely why it makes no sense. Clint Van Zieks was a noble and upstanding man. He wasn't corrupt. Why did that damn Nicklanese have to go and take my brother's life? In spite of having once saved mine.
He saved your life? How'd that happen? Oh, here we go. That's a pretty deep statement coming from him.
It was 10 years ago, on a foggy night. What was he to the professor's final strike had sent a wave of panic through the capital.
So Clint Van Zieks had already been killed at this point, then?
Genshin and I were walking down some back streets at a late hour. Of course, at that point, I had no idea of the true nature of that man at my side. All of a sudden...
Don't make a peep, you're coming with us! Oh shit.
We were surrounded. All of our assailants were armed with pistols, their faces obscured by scarves. Clint was not only from noble heritage, he was a brilliant prosecutor as well. The scum of London hated the sight of him, and they had no sympathy for his younger brother either. I've been targeted several times before already.
Yes, Van Zieks, alright, we got him.
I could hear them murmuring amongst themselves. I knew they were after me, just when I thought my time had come.
If I let them kill you, Clint would never forgive me.
It was Asogi's voice, just a whisper in my ear.
Bang. The fuck happened there?
After that, I don't remember exactly what happened. The next thing I knew, there was silence all around. Genshin lay on the cobbled street. Blood was seeping from his left hand. He shielded me. Two days later, they arrested him. On suspicion of being London's most notorious mass murderer ever, the Professor.
How awful for you.
All at once, I lost a brother I revered, and a foreign friend I held in such high regard. I'm starting to wonder something, actually. I wonder if it's possible that the Professor is actually innocent, and maybe, in actuality, he was framed, and Asa Shin is actually the one behind all those murders. I don't know if I'm missing something here, but I feel like that's a possibility, honestly. I'm so sorry, Lord Van Zeeks. That's the end of my miserable tale. I never thought I'd recount it to anyone. Well, thank you for confiding in me.
The Professor, the Reaper, and Inspector Gregson. I wonder just how intimately related they all are.
I still can't quite believe that Gregson was essentially the Reaper, giving assassination orders to Giselle Brett.
Miss Naruhodo, let's go and inform my father. I'm sure our government will want to hear about this new information.
Oh, that means I get to meet your daddy, Susie. Hooray!
Yes, alright. Let's head back to the Great Waterloo Hotel, then. Oh, okay, now we can go there. Alright, so I'm guessing there's nothing I was supposed to present to him, then. Alright, so now the water... I'll go to the hospital at some point, but... I think the Waterloo Hotel has my attention more than anything right now.
I thought it yesterday, and I think it again today. This place is so princely.
It's a wild guess, but I have a feeling you think the same tomorrow, too.
My tea has finer fragrance than whatever they're serving in this tea room, though, wouldn't you say?
Ah, look what we have here. This is an unexpected pleasure.
Ah, Father.
Ooh, is this your daddy, Susie? How lovely.
What a charming young lady, and you are. Ah, really? So you're the author of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, are you?
That's me.
Oh, that's a cute bow.
I'm Iris Watson at your service, sir. Susie's been such a wonderful friend to me over the last year, you know.
Well, Miss Watson, I must say I read your work regularly and with much interest.
Iris actually lives with Mr. Sholmes, you know, Father.
Is that so? Well, perhaps that goes some way to explain that bright look in your eyes. You wouldn't be smiling so airily if you knew just how bright she is, believe me. Now then, young Naruhodo, it was a pleasure seeing you in action earlier. As an inventee of the symposium, I was allowed to observe from the gallery after I twisted some arms. And I must say, it was a truly exemplary performance. Oh, well, thank you very much. Although I'm fairly sure you omitted Cosmo in there. No, please don't misunderstand. It was you who impressed me. Really? You didn't miss a step against the Sohi, and we all know how capable he is. Really, to have matured into such a fine defense lawyer in less than a year is quite extraordinary. It's very kind of you to say so, and really nice to hear. What I saw in court today confirmed what I've been hoping for. The favor I mentioned yesterday, Mr. Naruhodo, I trust you haven't forgotten. Oh, no, you did mention something, didn't you?
But first, we have something to report, Father.
Of course. Shall we take tea while we discuss matters further? I wonder where Judge Higoku's got to. We should definitely ask about that, alright. let's present some things, like, the dead body. Professor Mikatoba, I wonder. Okay. I don't know if any of... see, that's the thing. I don't know how much of this shit's gonna matter. I don't want to waste everybody's time just presenting shit here. But, hey man, I'm curious. Alright, I won't bother. About the Reaper.
Father, do you know about the so-called Reaper of the Bailey?
I've heard rumors. Some members of the Jishare explained it all to me yesterday. Of course, when I was a visiting student here in London, the Reaper was yet to emerge.
Right, he didn't appear until after that case when the visiting students had already returned home.
Lord Van Zeeks, who was in the dock today. That was Barak, the younger brother of Clint Van Zeeks, I believe.
That's right, and he's known throughout London as the Reaper, as you've heard. But the truth is, it wasn't him behind all those mysterious deaths. It was somebody else.
I see. So what you're saying is there's been a professional killer at work here?
Exactly. Someone by the name of Assassin, in fact.
I beg your pardon? Did you just say Assassin? You mean that Giselle Brett woman who was responsible for killing my great friend?
Oh no, a friend of yours was killed?
Professor Mikatoba, I think perhaps we shouldn't discuss this right now. Because the friend the Professor's talking about is Dr. John H. Watson. And that's not something we want Iris to find out about. Not like this, anyway.
Well, I mean, I respect his dedication to, not name-dropping.
Ah, I've just remembered something. Biscuits. This hotel has the most delicious-looking biscuits.
That was rather out of the blue.
She's doing this deliberately. I think I'll go and see if I can purchase some. I wonder, would you like to come too, Iris?
Oh yes. You just try and leave me behind.
Oh, here we go. So that young girl... She's called Iris Watson, is she?
Yes, that's right.
And she's the author of all those adventure stories starring the great Detective Sholmes? But the name of the credited author isn't Iris, is it? It's Dr. John H. Watson.
Yes, I know. That's the name of her father, you see.
Her father? Dr. John H. Watson. I was deeply indebted to the man for all the kindness he showed me during my time in London. That's why I was keen to reciprocate him and invite him to the Imperial University 4 years ago.
But he was murdered last year by Giselle Brett. Why? Why would the hand of the Reaper stretch all the way out to Japan? Iris knows nothing about that case, but it seems very likely that the victim, Dr. Watson, was her father.
Well, I can't say that we ever spoke about his family, so I don't know if he had a daughter or not. But I think I can say with some certainty that he was never the great detective's partner.
So, it could have been another Dr. Watson, you think?
Well, Doc John and Watson are both common names after all. Still, it's probably best not to mention this to the young lady till we can be sure.
That's an interesting sprite for him. That's what we thought, yes.
We're back with cinnamon biscuits.
Ooh, they smell delicious, Iris.
I think cinnamon will go very well with the tea they serve here, don't you, Susie?
Yes, I'm sure you're right, Iris. I haven't seen Judge Shigoku for a while, have you?
Yeah. No, now you mention it, I haven't seen him since this morning either. I suppose since the symposium's opening was postponed, he'll have gone to explore the great exhibition.
That reminds me of something you mentioned yesterday. About Judge Shigoku having once been in the dock himself.
Ah yes, it was all tied up with that cursed trial. The closed trial of Cosmo's father? Seishiro was trying to mitigate Genshin's guilt, so he took to the stand to testify. But he got a little carried away and, actually managed to break the witness stand.
Oh my.
He also said some contemptuous words about the British Empire, for which he was charged.
Oh dear. Although it's worryingly easy to imagine him doing that.
Well, it was alright in the end. He was acquitted and we turned home to Japan together.
Thank goodness.
Oh yes, talking of Seishiro, I have a copy of the photograph we all took together here yesterday, please.
Lovely.
Man, he's tall.
Look at him. It certainly seems to shout we've arrived in Britain.
Alright, I'm assuming that'll be important somehow. None of us had any idea what was coming when we took that, did we?
No, that's so true.
Alright, the favor.
So, you mentioned a favor that you'd like to ask me.
Well, this fateful trial that you're fighting, one way or another, it will be over before long. And when it is, I'd like you to accompany me back to Japan.
You want me to do... What? Father, what's the meaning of this?
Now, Suzuto, you should understand. You've seen how our courts work firsthand. Japan's judicial system is in its infancy, especially when it comes to defense.
Oh, you mean...
The Supreme Court of Judicature is in desperate need of a good defense lawyer. As soon as possible, really quite urgently, in fact.
But I've not even been in London a year yet.
I read all of Suzuto's reports. I'm well aware of your extraordinary talents. And having seen you in action with my own eyes earlier today, there's no question. You, Naruhodo, are precisely the man our country needs.
So, he'd be leaving then, Runo?
But then, what am I supposed to do, Father?
You came here to serve as Asogi's judicial assistant.
Oh, yes, he's supposed to be Cosmo's assistant.
Our government's still in the process of deciding how best to deal with his situation, though.
Oh, that'd be really weird.
You've always chosen your own path, Suzuto, and I trust your judgment in this matter also.
Father!
Please, the pair of you, don't look so downcast. It's merely a suggestion, you understand? I hope, if I'm honest, but I won't force you. All I ask is that you consider it, and come to a decision by the time that this trial concludes.
I'm assuming that's going to tie into Case 5, then? Yes, alright.
You won't leave me, will you, Runo?
I wonder if we're going to have a Spirit of Justice situation on our hands, where we spend half of the case in Japan, and then we spend half the case in Britain. Thought hadn't even crossed my mind. Up until now, I've just been trying to do what I believed up to Cosmo's will. But it turns out that he's still alive, so... where does that leave me? Yeah.
Well, if you'll excuse me now, I need to telegram government ministers and the Japanese police with this information about Asashin.
Of course, Father. Thank you.
I look forward to next month's installment, Miss Watson.
Oh, good. And please, do come to Baker Street sometime, won't you? We'd love to entertain you.
I would be delighted. The best of luck for tomorrow, Naruhodo. And... give my suggestion your full consideration, won't you?
Yes, I will. Going back home. Yeah, it seems a little bittersweet, huh? The thought of going back to Japan. You know, Kazuma-sama has always meant a great deal to my father. I'm sure he'd love the chance to meet with him and talk to him about all of this. Yes, no doubt. Wouldn't it be funny if we just go to the hospital and then, you know, it's just, you know, Cosmo's just standing there? Asashin. Of course, it's so obvious. Oh, that's Sholmes.
How could I have neglected to consider the possibility before now?
Mr. Sholmes.
Haley, where have you been?
Why, I join you all for tea, of course. What an extraordinary question.
I didn't notice you at all.
No matter, no matter. Anyway, to more pressing concerns, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, yes?
I must dispatch a telegram to your country at once. It's a matter of much urgency.
Japan, you mean?
Tell me, to whom can I entrust the task? Quickly now, who?
Well... My father has just now left to send a telegram to the Imperial Police Bureau of Japan himself.
I see. Well, he looked reliable enough for a bearded fellow?
I don't think what father's sports could be considered a beard, Mr. Sholmes. Oh, was he talking about Jigoku?
There's not a moment to lose. Kindly ask your untrusty, unshaven father to see this is sent.
Did I say untrusty? That's not what I meant. I will, but what is it?
No questions at this time, if you please, Miss Suzuto. All we can do is pray that, for once, my deduction is awry.
Doesn't that imply your deductions are normally correct, Mr. Sholmes? Which isn't exactly...
Now then, you may be surprised to learn that I'm a very busy man.
Yeah, I mean, what with the waxwork profession and all.
I certainly have no time to hide behind settees and eavesdrop on other people's conversations.
So that's what joining us for tea meant.
I leave the sending of this in your hands then, my dear fellows.
Wow, he just poofed. Wait a minute, Mr. Sholmes.
He just sort of ran off, didn't he? At quite the pace.
And left the unpaid bill for this tea behind, too. I think that's the least of our worries right now. I must catch up with father at the telegram office at once.
And I'll run and call us a cab. Straight away.
And it was me thinking everyone would be clamoring to pay Mr. Sholmes' bill. Wait, am I by myself now? Damn. That's crazy. Take a dump. Alright. I like singing those lyrics, man. As stupid as it is. Maybe one of these days I'll stop singing that. Also, you know what I find really annoying, guys? Whenever I open my settings on Windows, it keeps on telling me, oh, your Game Pass has expired. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm not fucking renewing it because there's no good games that I want in Game Pass right now. I played Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. I beat it in a few weeks and I was happy with that, and I refunded my Game Pass. I got like $5 back for it or something, so it was worth it. And that's the thing I love about Game Pass, is you can just rent games, play them, and then be done with them. You don't have to pay full price for them. It's great. It's perfect for me because I'm poor as shit for now. And I probably will be for the next few years. Alright, well, I suppose we're gonna go see Mr. Vigil now. Wait, no, this is the same place. This is the same place that Miss Green and fucking, William Shakespeare was at. Wait a minute. So St. Simon's the name of the hospital, and what's Bartholomew's then? Is that a different place? I don't know. This is the ward Mr. Vigil was brought, apparently. To be frank, I'm a little worried about seeing him again. Oh, well, there he is. Oh, the lawyer, again. Are you feeling better now, Mr. Vigil? Why is this song so serious? Yes, thank you. Somewhat better. I'm so sorry to have caused you to... I mean, it's because of me. If I had exposed your secret and forced you to remember things you'd obviously have tried to forget. The prosecutor, it was here until a few moments ago, too. You just missed him. Oh, I frickin' knew it, man. Oh, Cosmo beat us to it. He said much the same as you. He was very apologetic. But the truth is, I brought all this upon myself. Please, don't think like that. Keeping it from Evie
my wife all these years, I've carried such a sense of guilt. But that's not the worst of it. Over time, I obviously came to deceive myself as well.
You mean about your dismissal?
Sorry, I'm just sipping more of my tea.
Looking back now, I'm beginning to think that perhaps Inspector Gregson didn't stumble across me by accident at all. I mean, he compensated me so generously for acting as his stand-in. He was clearly concerned for my well-being and doing what he could to help.
So perhaps Gregson knew exactly what had become of Mr. Vigil all along then. Okay, I think I'm done my tea now.
I'm sure this is just desserts for 10 years of lies and deception, but it wasn't me that helped the professor escape 10 years ago. It wasn't me. I swear it. I swear it's true.
Oh, Mr. Vigil.
I'm sure you'd rather not dredge up even more from your past at this time, but if possible, could you tell us exactly what really happened?
I want to. I need to get all this off my chest. I just want somebody to tell me what I should have done.
Man, this guy's like full of trauma. Actually, you know what? Look at this badge. Mr. Vigil, would you mind casting your eyes over this?
Oh, my head. It's throbbing.
Oh no. It's too soon, Mr. Naruto. It's too much for him.
I like how his animation is assuming there's a stand in front of him. He's so off the deep end that he thinks there's a stand in front of him. It's too much for me seeing him soon like that. Maybe I should lay off the evidence for a while. Okay, so no evidence then, at all. Good to know.
Inspector Gregson was obviously engaged in a special operation of some sort. He was investigating something that even Scotland Yard couldn't know about.
Details of the Reaper's marks, yes.
It was when he had to carry out those investigations that I would take his identification and impersonate him.
You'd pretend to be the inspector and carry out investigations on his behalf.
Oh no, never! A common street peddler couldn't possibly carry out a proper police investigation. All they would do is go to the specified location and make a little hoo-ha. Just something to leave an impression, so everyone there would think a detective called Gregson was here.
So, that's what you were doing on the day prior to the incident?
Yes, he asked me to make an appearance at the park on Lime Street for the Red-Headed League event. So as usual, I flashed the inspector's identification around and was very vocal about my presence.
And then you were taken prisoner by those red-headed fraudsters?
Yes.
So, you'd always make a point of showing Gregson's identification and generally being loud.
That's what the inspector asked me to do, yes.
Well, that's one way of becoming a legendary detective, I suppose. Not a good one, though.
And as you know, I suffered this bruising around my neck at their hands. But the following day, they kept their word and released me.
Without returning the inspector's identification to you, however.
We'd arranged to meet in the Fresno Street Room at 5 that day, so I could report back to the inspector. But at the agreed time, that's when I heard the gunshot.
Oh.
It was at midnight at 17th June 10 years ago. That was the time scheduled for the execution.
But the professor's execution never actually took place, did it?
Or rather, the execution itself must have been used to effect the plan of escape. I hardly dare to imagine what a chilling plan it was.
Oh yeah. That also goes with this dismissal notice. It says aiding and abetting the escape from this prison of convict, and I'm assuming the redacted is Genshin Asogi, right?
Barclay was renowned for being the highest security prison in the country. Everything that went in or out of the place was searched multiple times. But there was one notable exception. Or rather, one notable loophole. Something that was never questioned.
I have a feeling I know what that loophole was now. The coffins into which the bodies of the executed convicts were placed, correct?
Yes. Once the coroner had confirmed the death of a condemned convict, the body was taken in its coffin for immediate burial in Lowgate Cemetery just behind the prison. The chief warder first had to sign the necessary papers. And after that, no member of the staff was permitted to touch the coffin containing the body again.
Pouty face.
When executions took place, only the executioner and the coroner were permitted inside the chamber. I would wait in the adjacent room for word that the condemned convict was dead. On that occasion, once I had the confirmation, I went into the mortuary to find the lone coffin as usual. The procedure was that I would sign the paperwork having checked the coffin, then nail it shut. But for some reason that day, the coffin was already nailed shut. Now, I didn't think anything of it at the time. I assumed that my deputy must have checked the coffin and nailed it shut before I arrived.
So, you mean the coffin contained...
Yes, I can only imagine that Asogi, having escaped his execution, somehow was alive inside the coffin. The coffin was then taken out through the main gates and deposited in Lowgate Cemetery.
Presumably there wouldn't have been enough air inside to breathe for long.
So in the early hours following the burial, somebody dug up the coffin again to set Genshin free.
But in the end, he was fatally shot in the graveyard anyway. What on earth really happened in Lowgate Cemetery that night, I wonder?
Well, it's interesting that we're hearing another side of the story, because now we know Drebber's POV, and now we know Vigil's POV. It's kind of cool. It's like, how many other POVs can we know about? Is there gonna be another one that we find out about in Case 5? It's, like, crazy.
I'm afraid I don't really know. All I can say with certainty are two things. Asogi couldn't possibly have escaped that way without help from somebody working in the prison. And that somebody was not me.
Oh. Obviously you knew the man then. The professor, I mean. Genshin Asogi.
Yes, I remember him well, in fact.
Would you mind telling us what you know?
Well, having been condemned to death as he was, any contact I had with the man was short, obviously. After that trial, which was carried out behind closed doors, attended only by elite members of the judiciary, they called for his execution to be carried out at the earliest possible opportunity.
The outcome of the trial was set from the beginning, wasn't it?
It was a time of delicate diplomacy when Britain and Japan were in the process of signing an important treaty. That meant that this potentially destabilizing case had to be dealt with swiftly and discreetly.
The man had less than a week in total.
Whoops. Gotta stop pressing that button.
As I was the chief warder, I oversaw his short stay in the cells until its final hour. I remember being struck deeply by his noble character and incredible resilience.
What do you mean exactly?
He was a killer of many men, but he was always quiet and polite. He was a gentleman and a man of intellect. In fact, I couldn't bring myself to believe what he'd done, so I asked him one day, "Those 5 members of the aristocracy whose lives were taken, were you really responsible?"
I'm guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another human's life, yes.
The following day, the closed trial took place, and the verdict was no surprise.
Guilty.
That night, when he was brought back to his cell, I saw something unusual.
Something unusual? What?
The last will and testament of Genshin Asogi.
So, what does that mean?
As I said, it was on the night following his trial after he'd been found guilty. I was doing the rounds of the cells, and when I looked into Asogi's, I noticed that he seemed to have a sheet of paper in his hand.
Ah, his last will and testament then, presumably.
As soon as he's noticed me, he hurriedly shoved it behind his back.
But why do you find that so unusual? Isn't it normal for a man to pen a will when he knows his death is nigh?
Yes, that's true, but there were special conditions to Asogi's incarceration, you see.
What sort of conditions?
Well, even though he was held in a cell designed for condemned inmates, he was allowed to keep his personal effects with him, with one exception.
Really? He was allowed his things? That is unusual, certainly. What, did he get to keep his sword?
Of course, he'd been convicted of killing 5 members of the aristocracy, but at the same time, he was a guest in our country from the Empire of Japan. The powers that be were determined that his final days shouldn't be needlessly uncomfortable.
And what was the exception you mentioned to the personal effects he was allowed?
That's the point. He wasn't permitted to have writing materials. Specifically, no pens or paper.
So, he was prevented from leaving any written record of what had happened to him?
Yes, that was the long and short of it. I have no idea where he obtained that paper, and writing materials would have been confiscated from him upon his incarceration. As I said, he hid the paper behind his back and then he pleaded with me. What did you just hide behind your back?
Please turn a blind eye. This is my lifeline.
But you know it's against the rules.
You're the only person who's seen, if you just agree to keep quiet.
Alright then. But what's on that paper?
Alright then, keep your secrets.
Alright then, keep your secrets.
A last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now.
How can a will be a weapon?
So I decided to pretend I'd seen nothing, and I let him keep his will. But then later, it just seemed to vanish without trace.
What? What do you mean it vanished?
It would seem that isn't the end of the story of this mysterious will.
Okay. Oh, I'm still recording, right? Okay, good. I'm just making sure.
I was the only person who saw Asogi's will, but
somehow it disappeared.
it was after Asogi's execution.
Which was actually an elaborate jailbreak.
The warders gathered up Asogi's possessions that were in his cell. They were all to be sent back to his family home in Japan, you see.
To poor Kazuma-sama.
And you're saying that it wasn't anywhere to be found among his personal effects? The will, I mean.
That's right, though I didn't search through them myself. But Governor Caden was livid. He was screaming, "Can I disappear to me completely?"
That doesn't quite make sense though, does it?
In what way?
Well, we'd understood that only Mr. Vigil was aware of the will's existence. In which case, how did the prisoner governor know how to look for it?
Oh yes, you're right.
I really don't know how he knew. But it certainly seemed as though he knew of the will's existence from the outset. Only he didn't refer to it as a will. What he said was... the Asogi Papers.
The Asogi Papers?
I really can't tell you anything of the subsequent events. Because, well, of what happened.
Your dismissal, and the way you blocked it all from your memory.
I've forgotten all of this until today. I don't suppose it's relevant to the case, though.
Well, anyway, thank you very much for sharing it with us, Mr. Vigil. We're very grateful.
I'm afraid there's really little more I can tell you. My wife Evie will be here shortly, so I do hope I don't appear rude, but...
No, not at all. Thank you again.
But what will become of you now?
Well, impersonating a police officer is a criminal offense, of course. I imagine that once I'm fully recovered, I shall be arrested.
Well, that's not good for the wife and kids. I'm so sorry.
Don't be, please. This was all my own doing. I've always knew that this day would come.
Well, I wish you well. Goodbye, Mr. Vigil.
Ah! Before you go, there's just one thing.
Oh, yes? What is it?
The Asogi papers. I'd be very grateful if you'd make no mention of the things I told you about them.
Presumably for some good reason?
It's my understanding that their very existence is a closely guarded secret. If it became known that I'd remembered, well, it could be rather troublesome, I think.
I understand. I mean, it makes sense you're confiding it with a Japanese man, I guess. Some sort of will that Genshin Isogi penned just before his death, which that man himself claimed was his last weapon. I wonder, perhaps it had something to do with his plan to escape. If there's anyone who might know more about a document that Cosmo's father left behind...
It would be Mr. Vigil's governor.
Then we know precisely where we must go. Back to Barclay Prison.
Oh, he's just chilling there. I kind of want to examine him anyway, though. Well, at least he seems to be on the mend.
You know, his disguise as Mr. Gossip was really quite masterful, wasn't it?
I can't remember anything about it except for the floppy lip.
I imagine not even his wife would have recognized him.
Perhaps, but did he really have to take it quite so far? Yeah, he's like a completely different person. I mean, I guess that's the point, right? Alright, so now, Barclay Prison's back open. Wait, no, that's just the prison. I'm thinking of the governor's office. Yeah, because they both have prison in the name, so I got rather confused. Well, time to do my... Time to see if I can improve on my Scottish accent.
Oh, back again, are ye?
Yes, hello.
I've heard all about your investigations. I read the report just now. You found them, eh? Vigil.
Yes, luckily.
Well, anywho, the laddie doesn't any work for here no more, so your case is not to do with Barclay. I didn't look you to get the wrong idea about that.
Of course, yes. Mr. Vigil stopped working here 10 years ago now, so...
Yes, we've seen his dismissal notice, haven't we? He was given the chop.
Aye, giver, you'd ken very well. So, how about a wee handful biscuit?
Oh, they really are like little handcuffs, and as hard as irons, too.
So, what's brought you down here today?
Well, there's something else we'd like to ask you about, actually.
Is that so?
We believe there might have been a document that disappeared from Genshin Isogi's cell. I think it's been called the Isogi Papers or something. I thought he said not to mention to anybody, now here we are, bringing it up to Caden.
Did I now say Gregson's death is not to do with the things that might have happened at Barclay? Leave the past in the past, laddie. Let's not foot about with the relevant details.
His expression has changed completely. We're clearly onto something here. It is funny. Wait, actually, you know what? Did I ever present my armband to him?
What's that, and
It's actually a sign of a Japanese defense lawyer. Well, if you have to wear something like that to prove who you are, perhaps I should wear these handcuffs then, eh?
I think maybe they're more of a sign of the people you catch than yourself.
Aye, that's true. You got me there then.
They're not actually a sign of anything, are they?
Well, that was funny. What about Mr. Vigil? Governor Kaden, would you have a look at this?
Oh, wouldn't I rather have a wee handcuff of biscuit?
Oh, no thanks. I'd rather you just cast your eyes over this.
Or maybe you prefer real handcuffs, eh?
No, neither for me, please. Lovely offers, though. What do you know about the gun? You know anything about a gun? I'm just gonna present a few things, I don't know. Probably not much else, really, yeah. I'll just converse.
That murder botched execution, and the whole miserable escape. They were Barclay's darkest hour, eh? A shocking embarrassment.
Because the convict had a collaborate on the prison staff, you mean?
Aye, for shame. The coroner had confirmed the death of the man after his execution, Courtney Scythe. And my chief learner at the time, Vigil, who was in charge of the whole affair.
But Mr. Vigil says he didn't know anything about it.
The rascal when they say otherwise, eh? More handcuffs.
Oh, how could I say no? You can never have too much iron in your diet.
When Mr. Vigil was handcuffed... When Mr. Vigil was handed the dismissal notice as a result of what happened, he was so despairing, he jumped out of your office window, didn't he?
I dare like to say, but that's just Vigil trying to get hold of it. Do you no think he would have jumped up from the shock of his crimes being exposed, eh? I do.
You and I say otherwise, would you?
Of course. I can't share all your responsibility myself. I shouldn't have let him deceive me. Actually, there's barely anybody can know what went on at the time there. With Gregson had been murdered, that Dr. Scythe forbidden if any of the visitors.
I'm just like, this is the most freaking stupid accent ever. No visitors. Someone obviously doesn't want her giving anything away. Bro, this accent just gets frickin' worse every day, dude.
Well, we're not going home empty-handed.
And I heard no dream of sending a pack and whatnot, Kimmer. Here, take a handcuff or two.
Oh, well, it'd be rude to say no. We won't become an anemiac.
Or anemic, yeah.
I suppose if there's no anybody who might still ken about what happened back then, it'd be that lass from the forensic division, Maria Gorey.
Maria Gorey? Yeah, we do know about her.
Aye, Scythe's daughter. She didn't have them all, just the one.
Oh wait, that's her. That's the lady we saw last time.
But the wee baron's fallen in her mum's footsteps. You didn't say hey without a scalpel in her hand.
Ah. So that's her daughter then. See, I frickin' knew this lady would come up again. Dr. Scythe's daughter, Maria Gorey? We could do with talking to her. Alright, Gory. So, she's Dr. Scythe's daughter, but her surname's Gory?
Aye, there's some family history, I'm sure, but I dinna ken about the ins and outs of it. She grew up watching her mum working with the bodies of folk who had died in strange circumstances, and decided to do the same with her own life. I can understand it myself.
Perhaps she was driven by a deep respect for her mother.
Perhaps. Anywho, she was in charge of Gregson's autopsy, I believe.
Right, and the coroner is responsible for this incomplete report.
Someone told me once that the wee lassie always loved her mam's stories about cutting up bodies. There's even a rumour that she used to listen to the funeral match as a lullaby.
Well then, perhaps her mother might have told her about the autopsy case from 10 years ago.
I say there's a fighting chance at least. After all, that was a life-changing case for all of us.
We really need to speak to Miss Gore about all this, I think. Well, thank you very much.
I ain't happy about all part of this. It took years for Londoners to finally forget the old professor business. Can you now get up on this, laddie? Stop asking pointless questions.
I'm sorry. I don't like dredging up these painful memories for everyone.
Can you not just stay away now? Leave me alone and do not come back here, eh?
Well, we still have the Asogi papers.
How'd you come kinda knew about that, laddie? There's no many folk here come in the prison who've heard about those papers.
Well, I can't tell him Mr. Vigil told me.
I'm afraid our sources must remain confidential, sir.
We've been led to believe the paper's actually a last will and testament, is that right? Professors, or rather, Genshin Asogi's?
Aye, that's right. You well informed, Jimmy.
Oh, is that the end of silent treatment? Then after the convict's execution, it mysteriously vanished from his cell, didn't it?
Heavens no, you're all for half cock there. I think you dare get your quite facts straight. It was there in the cell, exactly where it should have been.
Oh, not what we heard elsewhere.
Let me just have a wee hook around there. I'm sure I can find it. Aye, here you are. See?
The last will and testament of Genshin Asogi, written with a calligraphy brush.
Of course, I cannot read a word of the Japanese squiggles. But I mind it says here, leaves all his worldly possessions to his son back in his homeland.
Yes, that's correct. That's the gist of it.
So these are the Asogi papers.
Aye, of course they are. Papers written by Asogi, no doubt about it. There's no mystery here, laddie. That's your lot. After all the stamish out of that sliced of an execution, we sent the man's possessions back to his clan in Japan, and that was the end of it.
I think we ought to make a record of this, Mr. Naruhodo, just in case.
And I love this song. It's so good. I was listening to it the other day.
One thing before you go on your way, Mr. Naruto.
Oh, yes.
Those papers are not to do with Gregson's death. I'd prefer if you didn't make no mention of them outside of this office, or rather, I wouldn't prefer it. Consider it an order from the highest levels of government.
I understand. Alright, well. No more shitty Scottish accent, I guess. So where the hell do we go now? Well, we haven't been to the Fresno Street Room yet. This is a good investigation. I haven't gotten bored of it yet. Is there anything we can do here? I mean, everything seems to be updated. Okay, that guy... Okay, so... Whoops. I never imagined that this little figurine would turn out to be a watch-winding key.
I suppose it's a policeman because the pocket watch was a gift from Scotland Yard. It seems there was much more to Inspector Gregson than we ever realized. He was clearly a brilliant man.
It's the fish and chips that threw us off. I feel as though it ruined his image.
I really don't think we should blame one of Britain's staple cuisines.
But think about it. Imagine if it was Mr. Sholmes. How would you feel if instead of that old briar pipe that's always in his hand, Mr. Sholmes had a bag of chips?
Rather disappointed, if I'm honest.
Exactly. This revolver, just who does it belong to?
Well, we know it's one of those types issued to the members of the police force and judiciary.
But Gregson's own gun was found on his person.
And of course, Lord Van Zeeks is admitted to losing the firearm which he was issued. Such absent-mindedness, not dissimilar to you, Mr. Naruhodo.
I'm starting to think the cold, hard prosecutor and I have become good friends after all.
Then I wish you every success.
Looks like all of our bits of evidence have new fluff dialogue. If it turns out that Gregson didn't actually die in here at all, where on earth could he have been killed?
Well, one way or another, we must find out, for the inspector's sake.
You know... Oh,
You know, you look awfully pale again today, Mr. Naruhodo.
sorry. When I start thinking it all through, I conjure up some horrible images in my mind.
Your imagination's the culprit here, then. Most certainly guilty.
And then there's the hair. Catches your eye as soon as you enter the room, doesn't it?
It's such a bright color. It certainly makes an impression, yes.
They can't possibly commit any crimes, can they? I mean, redheads stand out just like a sore thumb.
I'm afraid with our jet black Japanese hair, we stand out almost as much here in London.
I suppose that's true.
You mustn't think of committing any crimes, Mr. Naruhodo.
I wasn't. Using a candle as a timer device. Very ingenious, I must say.
Yes, the culprit arranged it so that the firecracker would be set off at 5 o'clock and then left.
So that loud bang was heard at precisely the moment Lord Van Zeeks arrived, yes. If only he hadn't picked up that gun from the floor.
Something you'd probably told yourself once upon a time, I imagine.
Yes, I've learnt that a lesson by bitter experience. I would have turned and run a mile for sure. Oh boy, a reference to the first case.
Which might not have done you any favors either.
Yeah, this is all fluff. This isn't actually helping our case at all, I don't think. All the yard employees are still shook up, it seems. There are details of cases stretching back over 10 years on this notice board. Yes, a history of Lord Van Zeek's defeats in court.
I don't think that's an appropriate description. Although, when you consider everything on the board, it certainly is true that all these people had a background of dubious dealings.
And in the end, of course, the board itself concealed the inspector's own death.
Oh my, it really doesn't bear thinking about.
The photograph of Mrs. Vigil.
Realizing the identity of this lady was a very great clue to exposing Mr. Gossip's true identity. He obviously loves his wife very dearly, which is why he felt he couldn't tell her the truth.
The transformation was incredible, wasn't it? Just from that big twisted lip.
Yes, he went to extraordinary efforts to play the part of Hugh Boone convincingly.
Although, it didn't really seem like it was much of an effort to me.
Now you say it, I have to agree.
It's almost as if Mr. Vigil's true character.
People really are very hard to fathom at times.
Surprisingly, I can't examine the door. I think that's everything here. There's not much here. It's weird that it lets me examine this place to begin with. Prison? Is there nothing new to do here? Oh, okay, I thought you'd have something to say about these Sogi papers. Guess not. Okay. Maybe we need to go back to, Sholmes' suite? I don't know. Nope. So, but all here. My legal consultancy? Usually you never need to come to this room, but hey, it exists. What to do? Yeah, you know, I'll do that.
Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? It's rather unusual to find ourselves here in the middle of investigations.
It's just occurred to me that I might have forgotten something we left this morning.
Please don't worry. As long as you continue to investigate thoroughly, you won't go far wrong.
Oh, yes, of course. I must get back to work as soon as possible. I have another idea on what we can do. We've not been to the Lord Chief Justice's office. Maybe this is where we'll find Kazuma. I'll speak of the devil. Except Strongheart's there, so I don't know how well this is gonna go.
No arguments, Prosecutor Sogi.
Professor Asogi? Well, okay, I mean, his dad is the professor, so I guess that's why I called him that.
You'll continue with this trial exactly as I instructed, is that clear?
Perfectly.
It's Kazuma-sama.
Defying Lord Strongheart by the sound of it. He never did know when to back down.
On your way now, Shogi.
My lord. As grumpy looking as ever. Kazuma. He left without saying a word. Yeah, now I gotta deal with frickin' butt-fuck Grandpa over here.
Yes, what are you doing here?
Oh, well, I was just hoping to ask you a few questions, if you wouldn't mind.
I wanted Van Zeek's trial to be concluded today. But Prosecutor Sogi's unwelcome inquiries are going to make it take a little longer than necessary.
Unwelcome inquiries?
As a result, I'm losing even more precious time. Currently 2 hours, 55 minutes and 41 seconds, 42, 43...
Then we must have solved everything before 3 hours have passed, Mr. Naruhodo.
In a miraculous not even 5 minutes. Anyway, I can't let the man's obvious bad mood put me off. I need information. Yeah, alright. Well, first things first. What do you know about the Asogi papers? Nope, wasting time again. Apparently. I don't know, I'm just presenting stuff that I think will have significance to him. But I guess not. What about Gregson's identification? Surprisingly, no. You'd think he'd have something to say about it. Really? Nothing to say about Gregson either? Okay. Alright, whatever. Let's converse. Does Prosecutor Sogi believe that Lord Van Zeeks is the Reaper?
I wouldn't know. It was 10 years ago in that fateful closed trial that Lord Van Zeeks made a name for himself among the judiciary. But the next trial he fought, he lost. It meant the ringleader of a criminal organization was acquitted, thanks to all the jurors being under duress.
But that's awful.
The man's freedom was short-lived. He lasted just 3 days.
Yes, let me see. He died in a rock slide at his place of work, I believe.
How the hell do you know that?
Correct. That was the inauguration of the Reaper of the Bailey.
And people believe Lord Van Zeeks was responsible?
He was brought to trial himself, but it was shown to have been an accident.
So he must have had a solid alibi then.
Nevertheless, the mysterious deaths continued. In total, 16 persons perished in unusual circumstances, ostensibly at the hand of the Reaper. That's a long run of coincidences.
Well, the Reaper's true identity may well be revealed by this trial.
And the impact that revelation would have on the British public cannot be understated.
Is that why it's a closed trial?
Precisely.
Okay. Alright, I was just checking my phone. I was checking to see if anybody was in chat or not.
This country hasn't seen a close trial for 10 years.
So the last one was the Professor's? The trial of Genshin Asogi?
Correct.
Actually, we heard that originally, you were going to prosecute that trial yourself, Lord Strongheart.
Van Zieks entreated me to relinquish the prosecution to him, that he might avenge his brother's death. And here we are 10 years later, with the son of the man Van Zieks had condemned now looking to avenge his father's death in the same way.
They do say that what goes around comes around.
However, it would seem that the new young prosecutor is harboring some ulterior motive as well.
Cosma is?
I like my organization to run smoothly, in the exact manner that I prescribe. As with the giant clock in here, I won't tolerate a single cog being out of step with the others.
Ah, so that's what all those gears are about in here. Yeah, whenever I see the cogs like that, though, it just makes me think of the Mega Man 11 title screen. You guys know what I'm talking about?
If the young man refuses to mesh with the other parts of the great machine, I will be forced to take steps.
What do you mean?
Not something with which you need to concern yourself. In any case, all your questions will be answered tomorrow. Now, I shall have to ask you to excuse me. As of this moment, I've been delayed from attending my next meeting by precisely 3 hours.
Oh my, that is a long time.
And I hold you entirely responsible.
Even though we miraculously managed to fit everything into not even 5 minutes. Wow, bro really is a time whore. I wonder if you might agree to us, talking with Prosecutor Sogi.
Discussions between the defense and prosecution outside the courtroom are generally frowned upon. However, I will make an exception in this case. Now go. You can find him in his office.
Oh, thank you. Let me guess, is his office just Van Zieks' office? Let's go see him at once, Mr. Naruhodo. Cosmo's my best friend in the world, but I'm really not at all sure I know how to talk to him at the moment. Yeah, it's a bit awkward, isn't it? Alright. Where is it? Yeah, it is. It said something about this being the workplace of Asogi. Well, this place is looking a little different now. So this is the office of Prosecutor Asogi now, is it? Kazuma-sama is doing so well for himself. Even though he's always forced to kneel on the floor Japanese style in that dark corner. I like how on the table now, instead of it being the Great Exhibition, it's the frickin' room in which Gregson was killed, and I think that's a cool detail. It's his habit of sitting Seisa style whenever he's working. Oh, he's just standing over there awkwardly. Kazuma.
I thought it wouldn't be long before you paid me a visit, Ryunosuke. I was right about what I said, wasn't it?
Sorry?
That you have all the makings of a great defense lawyer.
Oh, this song's so good too. So, the name of this song, for anybody who wants to know, it's called Revival of the Prosecutor, which is kind of cool. It's kind of a callback to Great Revival, except it sounds more sinister. It's like a sinister Asogi theme, which is why I like it so much. I always believed that you'd fulfill your dream of advocating in the British courts. I just never imagined for 1 second that it would be as a prosecutor. Seeing you stand in a foreign courtroom so gallantly realizing your dream, Kazuma-sama. I'm truly happy for you.
And I'm truly thankful to you, Judicial Assistant Mikotoba. Ryunosuke, I always thought that it'd be fun for you and I to shake up the British legal system a little together. This is quite how I envisioned it, but I suppose it's just another twist of fate.
I've learnt a lot of things during my time in London. About how Suzuto-san's father was in himself a visiting student here once, along with Judge Shigoku. And about what happened with your father.
Then you'll have no difficulty understanding why I had no choice, why I had to find a way to get to Britain as a visiting student myself.
I want to hear it from you, Kazuma.
As you wish, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Well, he's at least cooperative. Oh, wait, hang on. It's important I do this. Kazuma, this is your armband.
Actually, I think it's yours now.
Sorry?
You're the defense lawyer. You have a talent for it. I've always known that you would. And now, you've chosen to take that path in life. As your friend, I couldn't be happier for you. Or more proud.
Kazuma.
So you keep hold of that. Besides, I'm a prosecutor now. That armband would have no meaning for me.
Well, if you're sure. Thank you, my friend. Oh, that's lovely. Alright, I mean, I don't know if there's anything else worth presenting to him. Kazuma, what do you make of this?
There's only one place where defense lawyers and prosecutors should discuss evidence. The courtroom. So it seems you're still confused by the situation. That's what I make of it.
I get the feeling my friend's always going to have the edge over me, isn't he? What about this? Okay, nope, I guess nothing. Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and present shit for, like, the next 5 minutes. Actually, we take the chance to examine things while Van Zieks isn't here. Lord Van Zieks' fine collection of hollow chalices and bottles all neatly lined up.
Yes, he's extremely particular about all that. He has a strict regime for everything, from the storage of the casks to bottling of their contents.
Gosh, you must be having a really tough time of it being his apprentice.
Actually, no.
Oh?
He's so particular about it all, he refused to let anybody else touch any of it. So it's been quite easy for me, in fact.
Talk about weird. Okay, this is actually a good reason to get me to examine shit. Is to, Oh shit, what the fuck? Okay, I think I, like, kind of froze. I soft-locked there, almost. There's Lord Van Zieks' incredibly stylish desk. Well, now that I'm paranoid, I'm gonna make a save. I don't know how much longer I should go for, but I'm assuming we're getting close to the end of the investigation. Maybe. Actually, you know what we haven't done this, this sequence? We haven't done a Dance of Deduction yet. I wonder if there's gonna be one this case or not.
It's not my style, though.
No, I noticed you've been working a little at the little table on the floor, kneeling down Caesar style. I thought it was some kind of punishment set up by Lord Van Zieks when I first saw it.
I find it the most comfortable way to work.
I can't do it. After a couple minutes of sitting with my legs folded under me, they start to go tingly.
Don't exaggerate, Ryunosuke. We both know you can't even manage a minute.
Alright, Alright, well, the big thing that I want to look at is, this. What the?
It's a scale model of the crime scene.
Oh, yes, I realize that. Does the prosecution make a model of the scene for every single case?
Apparently so. Sometimes it helps to visualize things better and notice things you hadn't spotted before. Actually, the miniature nose board is my work.
Be honest, you enjoy making that. One thing I find interesting is I don't know if I'm correct about this, but I'm fairly sure that a lot of the scenes in this game, like all the backgrounds, are actually like a bunch of flat images lined up in a diorama style to make it look 3D. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I remember hearing about this game. Do you know who the man in the portrait is?
Why would I?
What? But you're Lord Van Zieks' apprentice.
Yes, apprentice, not friend. And during the time I was suffering from amnesia, I didn't even notice that picture.
Oh, really? I mean, it's not the smallest picture.
I wouldn't have the first idea what the man decorates his office with.
I thought we already knew that's Clint Van Zeeks. Like, are they stupid? Oh well. Oh, there's the bats again. Ooh.
What? You disturbed the bats, did you? Fitting companions of Lord Van Zeeks, wouldn't you say?
Actually, I've seen things flying in Lord Strongheart's office too. Doves, I think.
Perhaps you have to like birds to attain rank in the judiciary here. Although bats aren't birds, of course.
How about a sparrow for you?
What's that supposed to mean?
Oh, nothing. Sorry. Just thinking out loud. Yeah, what is that? What does a sparrow have to do with Kazuma? Is that a Japanese joke that I don't get? Casks floor to ceiling, just like the last time we were here. Hallowed barrows, I suppose.
They're arranged according to vintage, flavor, and region. Every week they're all taken out and put back in order.
What? Every week?
Lord Van Zeeks can't seem to settle on a perfect way of arranging them, you see. Vintage, flavor, and region don't neatly coincide, that's the trouble.
Gosh, being his apprentice must be a real challenge.
Actually, no. He considers the task too important to entrust to anybody else, so he does it entirely on his own.
So he's a barrel of laughs here, and in court, then. Real quick, I kind of want to look up, I never thought about this, but I'm gonna go to the Ace Attorney wiki. I'm gonna see if Kazuma's name means anything in Japanese, because I actually don't think I ever did that. Not sure why, but yeah, let me look. Let me look at his name. Oh boy, guys, we have a lot to read here. His surname Asogi is a homonymous term. Is homonymous with the term meaning 10 to the 56th power, or 100 septendecillion. However, it can also refer to the term Asamkaya from Buddhism. Asamkaya refers to the Hindu/Buddhist name for the number 10 to the power of 140, as described in the Avatkamsa in Sutra. In religious translations, this term means incalculable. In Sanskrit, Asamkaya can also mean innumerable or infinite, and is a title of Hindu deities Vishnu and Shiva. Well, I know about those. I know about Vishnu and Shiva. In the Sanskrit hymn Vishnu Sahasranama. Oh man, these names are getting complicated. Asankyo Apramanyatama also means one with infinite forms. So that's basically just a very complicated way of saying Asogi means infinite possibilities. Gotcha. The sounds sogi are also homonymous with the term meaning funeral service, which may reference both Kazuma and Genshin Asogi's roles with death, with Kazuma as an assassin in pursuit of revenge, and Genshin as a supposed murderer in pursuit of justice, with both men ultimately dying for their goals and returning from the dead. Okay. His given name Kazuma is comprised of Ichi, meaning one, and Shin, meaning truth. So, one truth? This is in contrast to his father Genshin, whose name contains the kanji, with it containing connotations of being mysterious or occult. Okay. And then there's a bunch of unofficial names too, apparently. Not quite what I expected to learn about him. So, to summarize, his full name is... Let's see. His full name is One Truth of Infinite Possibilities. That's basically what his name means. Okay. I mean, that kind of lines up with what Naruhodo means, because I'm pretty sure Naruhodo also means truth. So, that makes sense, honestly. Well, I can't examine your little thing here? Alright. That's actually a pretty common thing with defense attorneys in these games. Is their names either mean the word truth or they're linked to like a god of truth, you know, like the god, like the god Apollo and the goddess Athena, for example. And then Phoenix is like, I'm pretty sure phoenixes are like the birds of like immortality and like truth or something. That's the gist of it, anyways. Alright, anyways, if you'll excuse me, guys, I'm gonna take a drink. Also, I sent a message to Jordan earlier. And it was regarding his thoughts on the Nintendo Direct. Because I'm recording this the day after the Nintendo Direct, so I have my thoughts on that. And my general consensus are the games look good, but the price is oof. And seems Jordan seems to say the same thing. Yeah, he seems to think the games are good, but he's not too keen on the price tag, which, yeah, once I saw the price tag for Persona 3 Reload, I'm just like, nope, 90 bucks for Canadian is fucking, yeah, I'm out of there, man. It's getting on for a year now, since what happened on SS Buria. We were heading across the oceans from Japan to Great Britain when a bizarre serious coincidence led to these tragic events. I still think Case 2 is one of the most interesting cases in Ace Attorney, though, because of the fact that it has no trials at all. I thought I'd lost my best friend forever. I must have been unconscious for a long time. When I awoke, I was lying on a bed. It was a narrow little room. There was a posy of flowers all by the pillow. It took me a little while to realize that I was in the cabin of a ship. I slipped out of the room and headed up onto the deck. Were you already suffering from amnesia at that point? Yes, I didn't know what had happened or where I was. There was just this voice in my head. You have something to do, something no one else can know about. Go to Great Britain, your task awaits you there. It was a calling I couldn't ignore. It compelled me relentlessly. Out on deck, I saw that I was on a huge steamship and we were docked in a large port.
It must have been Hong Kong.
Yes, it must have been, presumably just before they were due to carry your body off the ship. I had no idea of the situation, but I did have the feeling that this was in some way my last chance. So I concealed myself among the disembarking passengers and went ashore. Then I disappeared into the crowded streets of that foreign port city, so I could plan my onward journey to Great Britain. Well, how the hell did he get to Britain is what I want to know. Just under a year ago, with all my past memories lost to me, I was left behind in Hong Kong. Everything was foreign to me. The sights, the sounds, the smells. My head reeled. I was truly at a loss. I realize now that I escaped it as a dead man, with nothing but the clothes on my back. No money, of course.
Oh, how terrifying for you.
Luckily, though, I had 2 feathers in my cap. One being your knowledge of English, I suppose. That's right, and on the back of that, I was able to pick up some work as a deckhand on a cargo ship. Eventually, after calling all countless ports, I finally arrived at Dover. That must have been some 3 months ago now. A formidable tenacity of purpose showing itself again. I mean, the man had lost his memory and had literally nothing to his name, but he still managed to make his way to London on the opposite side of the world. Of course, I had no idea why I'd moved to heaven, earth, and here to get to that point.
So, how did you end up becoming Lord Van Zeek's apprentice, then?
That can only be called an extraordinary stroke of luck, really. You see, I was stopped at the border because I had no papers. They took me straight to Scotland Yard. And by sheer coincidence, Lord Strongheart was there to attend a meeting. That's when the second feather in my cap came into play.
Would that have been your knowledge of the law?
Yes, exactly.
Lord Strongheart was curious about an Easterner with intimate knowledge of British law. He took me back with him to the Supreme Court and assigned me to the prosecutor's office.
And then 9 days ago, you finally got your memory back after the trial involving Drebba. That's a cool looking CG image there.
Yes, I did.
Ever since I first met you at UMA, you talked about your dream.
Mark my words, Ryunosuke, I'll be chosen as a visiting student and make my way to Great Britain someday.
Did you know the entire time about what happened to your father here? Oh, this is probably where the Asogi papers come into play.
16 years ago.
Oh, what a nice image.
When my father left on that exciting trip to Great Britain, I was just a boy. We took a photograph together the day before his departure. It's my last memory of him.
Ah, he really does look like his father, doesn't he?
But what I remember most about my father is his unswerving sense of justice. 6 years after he left, a gentleman called at our family home. He told me that Genshin, my father, had been taken ill in England and passed away. It was Professor Migatoba, your father, Suzuto-san.
Oh, I completely read that wrong. You know, I'm gonna reread that.
It was Professor Migatoba, your father, Suzuto-san.
Oh my.
Ever since then, the professor was very good to me. He even helped to fund my university education at UMA. I'll forever be in his debt. But nevertheless, I just couldn't bring myself to believe what he told me.
Oh.
Then one day, a letter arrived at our house from Britain. There was no indication of the sender, so I opened it, assuming it was from an old acquaintance of my father. What I read in that letter changed my entire life.
What'd it say?
It said that my father had been a mass murderer, and the writer cursed the Asogi name.
Oh no.
As a result of that letter, I found out what had been hidden from me all those years.
This is exactly the kind of tea I wanted to hear about.
Presumably the letter was sent from a relative of one of the victims. If whoever it was had been a murderer of the judiciary, he could have been presented at the closed trial. The letter revealed that my father had been sentenced to death, executed for being a killer.
I'm so sorry you had to find out that way.
I imagine the British government did its very best to silence whoever sent that letter. But someone who knew the truth couldn't bear the resentment was always going to be a problem.
But still, it could have been written by anyone. Why would you believe such a thing?
There was a newspaper cutting included with the letter. It was the first I'd ever heard of the professor and his terrible killing spree.
Well, what did my father have to say about the letter?
I couldn't bring myself to show it to him.
What? Why not?
Because he deliberately concealed the truth from me by telling me my father was taken by a fatal illness. That couldn't have been easy for him, and he's done it out of consideration for my feelings. So instead, I showed the letter to Judge Jigoku.
Ah, to the other visiting student.
He faltered for the briefest of moments, but then he just laughed the letter off. But in that moment, I saw it on his face. He was undeniably shocked, shaken momentarily before recovering his poise. A year later, my bereaved mother succumbed to the strain of grief, and she too passed away. That's when I made up my mind that one day, without fail, I would cross the seas to Britain and seek the truth for myself. The truth about my father, Genshin Asogi. And I wouldn't let anyone stand in my way.
Oh, Kazuma-sama. Okay, so is that what his mission was then?
What we learnt today in court turned things completely on their head. It was an impressive piece of lawyering, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Lord Van Zeeks isn't the Reaper, you know. I almost don't want to believe it myself, but it turns out that Inspector Gregson himself, the victim, was...
It's clear that the Inspector was behind the Reaper's activity all along.
What? You mean you knew?
You knew? The real question is, who's been giving orders to the Inspector? Yes, Barak Van Zeeks is the real Reaper. And I know that 10 years ago, it was him who decided my father must be a mass murderer and sent him to the grave.
No, he was merely seeing that justice was done as the law dictates. He's not to blame.
Ultimately, it's people who condemn people. The law is just a tool that they use to do it. And when a man condemns another, he must take responsibility for his actions. Of course he must. But I know for certain that my father would never have taken another man's life.
Kazuma.
On the contrary, my father's life was taken by the Reaper.
Oh, wait, is that everything? Oh, okay. I thought he would have something to say about the Asogi papers. Alright, I'm gonna present everything, and I'll let you guys know if anything cool pops up. Oh, I got something. I got a response out of him.
The Reaper. At last I get to take my revenge.
Kazuma, Lord Van Zeeks isn't responsible for your father's death, and he's not the Reaper. He's the defendant, and deserving of a fair trial.
You mean like the one my father had? It's a closed trial now, too. The conditions are exactly as they were 10 years ago. And even if it ruffles some feathers, I have a plan to show the man what he pays for it.
Kazuma. Okay, well, glad I got to see that. This came up in the trial, didn't it? As something a little dubious, I mean. The fact that no time of death was recorded on Inspector Gregson's autopsy report.
Yes, there were some unexpected turns in the courtroom earlier. The suggestion that you came up with certainly took everyone by surprise. The idea that the victim died on the previous day at some other location is quite something.
Well, considering when the pocket watch had stopped and the scorch marks on the candle, it's certainly a distinct possibility. The evidence and the scene both point to it.
To be honest, it bothered me too. So I paid a visit to the autopsy room earlier. The coroner responsible wasn't there, but I got a name. It's Dr. Gori.
If it wouldn't trouble you, Kazuma-sama, we'd very much like to speak with the coroner too.
Of course, the last thing I want is for anything to be brushed under the carpet. Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory is behind Lowgate Cemetery.
Lowgate? By Barclay Prison, you mean?
Ah, you know it, do you? The prison where my father was incarcerated and robbed of his life.
Kazuma-sama. Well, thank you. We'll pay a visit to the laboratory later today. Oh, okay, so that's what I had to do. See, I knew I had to present something to him. It seemed weird that it just ended abruptly.
Ryunosuke, I want to thank you.
What for?
For this. You safeguarded the soul of the Asogi clan.
Well, it is a famous sword that's been in your family for generations. My only slight regret is that I never got the chance to draw it before I returned to you.
Karama is said to have been forged by a master swordsmith during the Sengoku Warring States period. I come from a long lineage of warriors, many of whom were expert swordsmen.
Well then, you're a chip off the old block, I'd say.
This blade, Karama, is the soul of the Sogi clan's honor and might. Apparently, one of my father's apprentices even took the blade's name for a surname.
Really? Karama? Does sound formidable, that's for sure.
16 years ago, when my father was visiting student here in London, he had this sword forever at his side. Which is why it means so much to me that I have it by my side again now too. And that is all thanks to you.
It was an honor. Well, we get a nice happy ending.
Now, I have preparations to make for tomorrow. Perhaps I said a little too much.
Kazuma, you've changed.
No, Ryunosuke, I haven't changed at all. It's you who's changed.
Wow. He frickin' Uno reverse carded, man? I can completely understand your resentment of Lord Van Zeeks given what happened. But the fact is, those events in this case are, well...
Unrelated? Is that what you want to say? How can you be so sure?
What do you mean?
Never mind. That man is the Reaper, and it's just for that reason that the Inspector was killed. I'm going to prove as much in court tomorrow, by whatever means necessary.
I can't let you do that, Kazuma.
I know you'll do what you have to as a lawyer, but I'm sure I don't need to tell you that I won't be taking any prisoners in the courtroom.
I would expect nothing less.
Until tomorrow then, in the Old Bailey.
Okay. I don't know if the Forensics Laboratory is the last place we're gonna go today, but I'm getting kind of, I think now is a good place to stop, honestly. We've been going for 2 hours, and, I think I'm gonna go on my walk in a little bit. So, yeah, guys. Anyways, thank you for watching Great Ace Attorney 2 for today. I think in the next episode, we'll probably finish up in the investigation. I can't imagine it's that much longer. Like, I feel like it's an hour. It's an hour more at most, but you never know. These investigations do go for a pretty long time. And hey, you never know. Depending on how things go, we might end up doing a bit of the trial, too. We'll see. But alright, guys. I'm gonna go for now. You can probably expect a few other streams today. I might do another Great Ace Attorney stream later, depending on how I'm feeling. You can also check Luke out at Luke York on YouTube. He's going to be streaming Superstar Saga hard mode later today, and I'm going to be there, so be sure to check that out. And definitely a Resident Evil stream tonight. I really want to try and do more RE6 tonight with Robbie and Desmond. Because we're doing some mercenaries, I think, is what we're going to be doing. We're really milking RE6 dry. It's kind of wild, but hey, I'm having a good time, so that's what matters. Alright, well, I'll see you guys later, alright? Hope you enjoyed this episode.